You're listening to GoodMicWork Commentaries, hosted by Greg Morgan, a pro wrestling podcast for adults, discussing the fun, wild, and sometimes insane world of professional wrestling.
Holy crap, can you believe that we are only about 4 days away from WrestleMania 34? It is almost time. What's up, everyone? GoodMicWork Commentaries back at you with episode 491. In this episode, you are going to get my Go Home Raw and SmackDown live reviews. We're going to preview the entire WrestleMania card, talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame, the Mixed Match Challenge, and maybe some other wrestling news floating around out there in this very, very busy WrestleMania week. You are not going to get WrestleMania predictions in this podcast. That will be coming this coming Friday. Sometime in the morning or afternoon prior to the Hall of Fame, you will have a completely separate episode with all of my full WrestleMania 34 predictions, and we'll discuss each and every match and who I think is going to win. I'm also going to throw in some NXT predictions in that video as well. Before we dive into what we're going to get into in this episode, I just want to mention a couple of things to you. First of all, I would like to apologize for the slight monkey wrench that got thrown into my WrestleMania week plans. I had a whole list of videos planned for you guys all week long, but a few days ago, I came down with a slight cold, which is very rare for me. I never get sick. I never get colds. I never get flus. I never get stomach bugs. I never have fevers. I'm very, very lucky. But usually about once a year, I do come down with a slight cold. And of course, this year, my cold decided to show up during WrestleMania week, which really pissed me off because it's just made me really congested, and my voice sounds terrible, and it's been more annoying than anything else. And I haven't been feeling very good, and I literally could not believe it. So I've been pumping my body full of medicine and vitamin C and all this crazy shit, trying to knock this thing out, and I'm finally feeling a little bit better, although it's still lingering a little bit. I'll definitely be good to go by this weekend for WrestleMania, but it did put a dent in some of my WrestleMania plans. I planned on being up here every single day this week, but on Tuesday, I was not able to upload the video that I wanted to do. It wasn't a big deal. It was just a little special episode, only about 10 or 15 minutes long. Not a big deal at all. I'll give that to you guys in maybe a week or so after WrestleMania, but my plan was to record it last weekend. But because of my voice, I just didn't want to do it because I sounded like shit. So I had to abandon my video on Tuesday, and tomorrow on Thursday, I plan on releasing my WrestleMania Q&A, and even that's not completely finished, and it's probably going to be a little bit shorter than I intended it to be. But nonetheless, I'm up here now. I'm not going to let this thing beat me. I still plan on having a ton of fun this week for WrestleMania. I'm looking very much forward to the show. I've got the whole weekend off. I'm going to be up here with you guys every single day, so my schedule will be as follows. Of course, right now it's Wednesday. You're getting this Go Home Raw and SmackDown review. Tomorrow on Thursday, I will release at some point. I'm not sure what part of the day it will be up. It might even be in the evening if I fall a little bit behind. But my WrestleMania Q&A will be up on Thursday. On Friday, you will get another podcast episode, which will be my full WrestleMania 34 card predictions along with my NXT TakeOver predictions as well. And then Friday night after the Hall of Fame, I will be up here live on YouTube doing a review on the Hall of Fame. On Saturday, I will be up here to do a live NXT reaction video, just like I do on Monday nights where I watch Raw with all of you. I'm going to pull up NXT here on the WWE Network, and I'm going to do a live watch along. So if you would like to join me this coming Saturday for NXT TakeOver, please tune in. It should be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to that show, especially that big ladder match, and I'll probably stay up another hour or so after the show and discuss it. And then, of course, on Sunday, I will probably come up here in the morning for a very short live stream, maybe just some last-minute predictions for WrestleMania, some last-minute WrestleMania discussions, let you guys chime in with what you think is going to happen on the show, and then I will be watching the show throughout the whole night, live tweeting throughout the whole thing, and then immediately following WrestleMania, as soon as the bell rings in the main event, I will be up here live on YouTube to discuss what will probably be about a 7.5 hour long show. So it's going to be a long week, and you are going to get a lot of good mic work this week. But I do feel very bad about not getting up here on Tuesday like I planned. As far as some of the other videos I've done this week, of course, this whole thing kicked off last Sunday on April 1st with my big Undertaker video. Holy shit, did you guys check that out? Make sure you do. The link is in the top right-hand corner of the screen there. there. And that was my little April Fool's joke to all of you. And 95% of you are totally cool. I cannot believe what a great response this video got. I came up with the idea on the fly. I put the whole video together in about 30 minutes, about a week prior. And I was like, oh, that'll be a really fun thing to do for April Fools. I'd never really given you guys an April Fool's video or done an April Fool's joke before. And I thought it would be a nice way to kick off WrestleMania week. Let's just have a little bit of fun. So I uploaded about a 7.5-minute video completely shitting on The Undertaker and talking about how he does not deserve to go into the Hall of Fame. And I'm laughing my ass off when I'm making the video because I'm thinking to myself, there's no way anybody's going to believe this. I mean, reading the title alone is going to give it away that it's an April Fool's joke, but goddamn, I cannot believe how many people were fooled by this thing. There is people that want me dead for what I said about The Undertaker, and it was so entertaining reading the comments in that video. Some people were going completely apeshit. You know, they thought I was on drugs, that I'm going out of my mind. Holy shit, what has happened to this guy? I mean, really, really funny stuff. So I'm not going to stoop to call anybody dumb or stupid or dumbasses or anything like that. I already did enough of that in the comments because people were going so crazy about it. I'm like, okay, calm down. Just look at the date. Look at the upload date of the video. Stare at it. Think about it. Let it sink in. Think really, really, really hard. Is a light bulb going off? Come on. April 1st, give me a break. You really think I would come up here and shit on somebody like The Undertaker? I just could not believe how many people I fooled with that. So I'm going to pat myself on the back because I did not expect anybody to fall for this. And a lot of you didn't. I mean, a lot of my loyal listeners, you guys know how I feel about The Undertaker. I suck that guy's cock 365 days a year. I would like to think that it would take most of you about 5 seconds of listening to that video to realize that it was an April Fool's joke, but a lot of people did not, and a lot of people hated my guts. And some people didn't even, couldn't even take the joke. I mean, there were some comments that I was getting like, oh, I understand it's an April Fool's joke, but you shouldn't say anything like that. I mean, Jesus, I didn't talk about the guy being dead. I wasn't making fun of cancer or miscarriages or anything like that, anything that's really serious. I was just having some fun, and I was saying things that were so crazy, ludicrous, over the top, absurd that I can't see how anybody in their right mind could ever take that seriously for more than 5 seconds. But I appreciate all of you that do have a sense of humor, that did enjoy the video, that did find it funny, and it got a much bigger response than I was expecting. I was expecting a lot of dislikes because I thought people were going to see through it. Oh, give me a break, GoodMicWork. Like, we believe that this is what you think. This is a dislike. Nice try. The worst April Fool's joke I've ever heard. But instead, a lot of people fell for it, and it was funny as shit. And if you haven't checked that video out, please check it out. And if you think what I said in the video was entertaining, you haven't seen anything yet. Just scroll down and read some of those comments from the people that thought I was serious. It is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So anyway, I just wanted to have a lot of fun this week, and I thought that would have been a great video to kick off the week with. I don't know, 10, 12,000 views, something like that on it right now, and people were losing their minds. I was up here on Monday night as well to watch Monday Night Raw and live react to that with all of you, and my voice was really a mess on Monday night. It sounds a little bit better now, but still, it's not where I want it to be. But I'm guessing in about another day or two, this thing will be completely out of my system, and I will be ready to rock and roll for WrestleMania. So why don't we jump into everything here while my voice is still holding up before I start losing my voice or coughing or anything like that. And we'll talk about Monday Night Raw first, then we'll discuss SmackDown Live. I'll talk a little bit about the Mixed Match Challenge final. We'll run through the WrestleMania card, and I'll probably touch on the Hall of Fame. And then I'm going to get out of here and start trying to finish up the big Q&A to be released tomorrow. Speaking of Q&As, I'm also going to put a link up here in the cards in the top right-hand corner of my TVTrax Q&A. I recorded that a couple of weeks ago. I sent him the audio over. He posted a bunch of clips, and he posted the full video. So you can check that out if you need more GoodMicWork content or you're dying for more Q&A stuff or whatever. That video is up there now, and it seems like everybody really enjoyed it, and I had a fun time doing it. And also give TVTrax a sub. Check out his channel if you have not yet already. A lot of good podcasts up there, including myself, Salamonster Sounds Off, Don Tony and Kevin Castle, and even a couple of others. So it's been been a fun couple of weeks, and here we are just a few days away from WrestleMania 34. And despite what we saw on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, neither show, I think, in my opinion, was really bad. But I also don't really think that either show was really the greatest go-home show we've ever seen either. So I guess it was kind of a mixed bag. The feedback that I saw on social media, on Twitter, and things like that about Raw and SmackDown was pretty much mixed. I think the crowd was split 50-50. Some thought the shows were good. Some thought the shows were bad. But whatever, we're going to talk about both of them here, and we'll discuss WrestleMania as we go through. So why don't we backtrack and talk about Monday Night Raw first? And I'm not going to talk or spend a lot of time on Monday Night Raw because the show didn't flow very well. I thought the show had its moments. There was some really entertaining matches and segments on Raw, but I found myself being really, really bored with it, and it was a good thing that I was up here doing a live watch-along because some of it was really tough to sit through, including the opening segment with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. This was basically like a discussion forum type of segment. They had the big chairs and desks out there. Jonathan Coachman was the moderator, and you had Kurt and Ronda on one side, Stephanie and Triple H on the other, and you know, it just wasn't that great because you can't do a whole lot in the build here. A lot of people were bitching about the build. Oh, this is stupid. This is a lame segment. And I agree, it kind of was. But when you have 4 participants that really don't wrestle, Kurt Angle and Triple H are part-time at best. Stephanie wrestles once every 4 fucking years, and Rousey has never had a match in her life. So it's not like you can do the normal type of stuff you would do when building an angle, like having matches and having interference and run-ins and brawls and tag team affairs and shit like that. You can only do talking segments, video packages, and promos. And unfortunately, what we've seen from Ronda Rousey so far on the mic has not been that good. So I think she was a little bit better on Monday Night Raw. I especially like the line when she asked Stephanie if she's right or left-handed, and she said she wants to make sure that Stephanie can still sign her checks after she rips her arm off. So I kind of like that. It was a little bit better, but overall the segment it dragged out a little bit, and just seeing Stephanie and Triple H in the ring, and they kind of started off cutting the promo first, and I immediately was getting these flashbacks of the Authority promos that we used to get. Remember when Stephanie and Triple H would be on TV every week, and we would kick off literally every single Monday Night Raw with like a 10, 15, or sometimes 20-minute promo with these two fuckers flapping their gums, and it just reminded me of that a little bit. And Stephanie was, typical Stephanie, condescending and cunty as hell, and really putting down Ronda Rousey. And I'm thinking to myself, when you look at this logically, where is all of this confidence coming from in Stephanie McMahon? It seems like she would be scared shitless to get in the ring with Ronda Rousey, but instead, Stephanie's not scared of Ronda Rousey at all, and she's completely convinced that her and Triple H are going to be victorious at WrestleMania. And she let everybody know that on the mic. The only thing good about Stephanie's promo was the way she looked. I thought she looked hot as hell in those leather pants. And then Jonathan Coachman the whole time is trying to do like a Q&A, but he's never even really able to get the first question out because Triple H and Stephanie talked for a while, and then Ronda and Kurt talked for a while. Kurt was his usual goofy-ass, awkward self. And this match, I just don't know. I'm a little bit nervous about it. And I've said more than once about this match that I think the match would have felt so much bigger and so much better had this been Kurt Angle's first time back in the ring. If he would have never appeared last year at TLC and Survivor Series, and this was his first match back, I think this match would feel a lot bigger. And it would feel very similar to what it would feel like if The Rock were involved in this. Maybe if he was teaming with Ronda Rousey. But instead, it's like, I don't even know if I'm really that interested in seeing Kurt Angle and Triple H work together. And finally, at the end of the segment there, the end of the promo, they have to do the big photo op. And Jonathan Coachman is like, okay, we have to make sure we don't get physical here. Yeah, right. Like, that's going to happen. And once they started doing the photo op and there was some pushing and shoving, Ronda Rousey wound up going through a table. And Stephanie was able to pick her up and slam her through, very much like Rousey threw Triple H through the table last week or the week before, whenever that was. So that's kind of how that segment ended. That kind of tells me that Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle are going to win this match. I think it's obvious that they have to win. I mean, this is Ronda Rousey's debut match in the WWE. Ronda Rousey is a big money name. Yes, she hasn't translated that well to WWE TV yet, but that's not totally her fault. She's being thrust right into the spotlight here with very little training and no miles under her. She has no matches under her belt. She hasn't been on TV, and the first time she's going to be in a wrestling match is at WrestleMania, of all places, against people in the ring that really don't wrestle. I'm just worried how this match is going to come off. I'm worried it's going to look way too, just way too choreographed. Even Stephanie putting Ronda Rousey through the table, the way they were setting up that spot, it didn't feel spontaneous. It was telegraphed. You could see it coming from a mile away. So I'm hoping these four will surprise us at WrestleMania, but I'm not looking that much forward to this match. And I really hope this match isn't near the end of the card. Some people were even suggesting that this would be the main event. I seriously doubt that would happen. If either brand's commissioner match is going to be the main event, it needs to be Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, but I don't think either one is going to be the main event. So wherever they place this match on this card, they just got to think about where they put it and actually put some thought into it. You don't want to have this match immediately following Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, because that match could be a show stealer. Charlotte and Asuka could also be a show stealer. So they need to be careful where they put it. What do you guys think? The segment, am I overreacting here? Was the segment better than I'm giving it credit for? Do you guys think there's promise in this match at WrestleMania? I know Ronda Rousey, I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, give her time. Hey, I totally get it. I think she sucks right now on the mic. She's not believable. She's smiling way too much. I think she needs to be that angry Ronda Rousey with that look on her face. Even in UFC, when they would do the photo ops with the weigh-ins and shit, she would be such a bitch. She would be pushing and shoving and getting in the other girl's face. She was doing that to Holly Holm, and then Holly Holm knocked her ass out. So I didn't understand why she wasn't doing that with Stephanie. Why is she not trying to intimidate Stephanie? Instead, she's out there like smiling and laughing and giggling and shit. So I don't know. I'm just not that enamored with this whole thing and this whole match. And I just hope it turns out to be good. If it doesn't, not every single match can be a show stealer on the show. We're going to have some matches on WrestleMania that aren't going to live up to the hype. And this one, if I had to bet, would probably be one of those matches. So that was one of the three big angles that were furthered on Monday Night Raw. One of the other ones was The Undertaker and John Cena. John Cena came out there for one last time to try to coax The Undertaker into facing him at WrestleMania. Came out there and cut a promo and talked about that he's perfectly happy with being a fan. He's going to WrestleMania as a fan, which I don't like this whole thing, I'm going as a fan. You mean to tell me if a talent doesn't have a match, that means they have to go as a fan? Does Kurt Hawkins have to go as a fan? Well, I'm guessing he's going to be in the Battle Royal. But I think even if you don't have a match, you're kind of allowed to go backstage. This idea that John Cena is going to buy a ticket and stand in line and sit in the crowd? Are you kidding me? John Cena is going to sit in the crowd for 7.5 fucking hours? I seriously doubt that. So John Cena tells the crowd that he's going as a fan and he's perfectly happy with that, only to start bitching about going as a fan because he's mad that The Undertaker is ignoring him and that he's ignoring the fans. All of the fans want to see The Undertaker back, and The Undertaker has remained silent. So John Cena did what he's been doing for the past couple of weeks, basically calls Undertaker a bitch, calls him a coward, and drops the line that last year Undertaker left his hat in the ring, but he left his balls at home. And that got a lot of oohs and ahs from the crowd, and we were wondering if we might not see The Undertaker at all. There has been some rumors that they're not going to bring The Undertaker out until WrestleMania. And now it's pretty much guaranteed that that is what is going to happen. A lot of fans still thought The Undertaker was going to come out later on in the show, but I was like, no way, he's not coming out later. If he was going to come out, he would have came out right there. And there was also talk of maybe him answering John Cena on SmackDown. I would have been fine with that, but we got no Undertaker on SmackDown either. So now we have to ask ourselves, what are they going to do at WrestleMania? How are they going to set this up? This is a match that would normally be one of the biggest marquee matches on your show, and it's technically not advertised. Technically, this match is not happening. In storyline, Undertaker is not going to be there, and John Cena is going to be drinking beer and eating popcorn for the whole show. But we know we're going to get a confrontation between the two. So is this even going to be a match? Is it just going to be a confrontation? Surely that can't be the case, right? And when we get to WrestleMania, how are they going to set this up? Are they really going to have John Cena sitting in the crowd and then The Undertaker comes out and confronts him? I mean, I think The Undertaker should attack him from behind. I think John Cena should be sitting in the audience and Undertaker runs through the crowd and just attacks him and kicks his ass and throws him over the railing, and then they get in the ring and start having the match. and then maybe one of the commissioners comes out or Vince or somebody and says, okay, ring the bell, let's do the match. But that seems like a really strange way to book this big confrontation. And there's still a lot of speculation as to what Undertaker we're going to see. Are we going to see the dead man, or are we going to see a Mark Calloway, American badass type version of him? Because John Cena in his promos has made this issue very, very personal and been very personal in some of his digs and his insults towards the Undertaker. So maybe this is the Undertaker having to show up to defend the honor of himself and his wife and his reputation and all of that. And if he does have an entrance, there's still the possibility of Kid Rock playing him to the ring with the American badass music. And the more and more I think about it now, after everything that John Cena has done and said to the Undertaker, how can the Undertaker lose this match? Now, I'm going to get into my full predictions on Friday, but when you look at this situation, how can Undertaker show up at WrestleMania only to lose to John Cena and then that be his true retirement? And John Cena is going to be the one to send the Undertaker off into the sunset instead of Roman Reigns. But I'm starting to think that if this is going to be the Undertaker's last match, Undertaker's going to win. Because otherwise, what this means is John Cena gets to come out for a month on TV and shit all over the Undertaker, then go into WrestleMania and beat him. If it was Roman Reigns doing something like that, the fans would have a stroke. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to have John Cena insult The Undertaker and own his ass in promos for a month and then beat him clean at WrestleMania? I don't know if I see that happening. So I'm starting to think that The Undertaker is going to get his revenge on John Cena at WrestleMania. And if this thing does turn out to be an actual one-on-one match with a referee and a winner and a loser, then John Cena gets tombstoned and pinned, and The Undertaker retires. Maybe the next night on Raw, he even comes out and cuts a promo and says goodbye to the fans, and then he goes into the Hall of Fame next year in New York at WrestleMania 35. Maybe if WWE doesn't follow through with this whole John Cena is going as a fan angle, and maybe John Cena comes out to the ring and calls out The Undertaker one last time at WrestleMania, and that's when he comes out and makes the big entrance, and then they have the match. Or do they have John Cena actually sitting in the crowd like a fan with his dumbass little outfit and his hat and his green shirt and his weights, sitting there, and then Undertaker shows up and then John Cena gets in the ring and fights him? I don't know what the fuck they're going to do. So I would like to hear from you guys. What are they going to do with these two at WrestleMania? How are they going to set up the match? How does it happen? And who wins? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, the third and final big segment on Monday Night Raw is what took place with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. That closed the show. Paul Heyman went out there and Paul Heyman'd his ass off and really cut a promo of a lifetime selling this match, which is probably going to be the main event of WrestleMania. We knew both guys were in the building. Kurt Angle was begging Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns to keep everything together because he's already lost one WrestleMania match. We're not going to get Cena and Undertaker, so Kurt wants to make sure that we don't lose Brock and Roman as well. But of course, that's not going to be the case. Kurt Angle winds up setting up a big human shield, a big wall of talent to stand in the aisleway while Paul Heyman cuts his promo with Brock in the ring to try to prevent Roman Reigns coming down to the ring, which was so stupid because the last 2 weeks, Roman Reigns has come through the audience. So if Roman Reigns wanted to avoid, the roadblock, all he had to do was do what he did the last couple of weeks and just come through the audience, and he would have gotten his hands on Brock Lesnar. But instead, Roman Reigns comes down the ramp, the talent stands in his way, and Roman gets on the mic and says, hey, you really want to stop me from kicking this part-timer's ass? This guy doesn't respect you. He doesn't respect the company. He doesn't want to be here, and basically pleads his case, and the talent moves out of the way. They let Roman through. And then Roman Reigns got in the ring. Brock Lesnar has a chair, and Roman just up and nails him with a Superman punch right in the face. Brock goes down. He's staggered. He's stumbling and selling his ass off all over the ring. And Roman proceeds to then hit him with 4 more Superman punches for a total of 5. And really has Brock Lesnar down on the ropes. Brock is laid out. And then at the very end, Roman kind of takes his eye off the ball for a second. Brock pops right up, grabs Roman Reigns, and nails him with an F5 to end the show. And Brock Lesnar walks off with his title. And there you go. So when we analyze the build between these two guys in the past few weeks, I think WWE did about as good a job as they could have. There's a few things I would have liked them to do better. I don't think this build was perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think the build was better than what they did in 2015. But I think this one, being a little bit more personal, I think we could have really used some blood. I wish that in one of those segments leading up to WrestleMania, especially that first week when Brock just beat the crap out of Roman Reigns, I wish Roman Reigns would have been split from ear to ear. Maybe after a couple of stare shots to the face, Roman Reigns is bleeding buckets out there just to get him a little bit more sympathy. WWE's really trying to get him over as the babyface here. It's not really working, but I do think Roman Reigns has done his fair share of selling in this thing. He takes a hell of an ass kicking. He took an ass kicking all year long from Braun Strowman, and now every time he hooks up with Brock Lesnar 3 years ago, or in recent years after the WrestleMania 31 match, Brock has literally owned this guy. So I think I'm going to be one of the few people to actually give Roman Reigns credit for some stuff. I know that's when you look at the IWC handbook, I think it's on page 35, thou shalt not give Roman Reigns credit for anything under any circumstances, but that's fucking stupid because Roman Reigns, I think, has done his job in this build. Yes, some of the build could be done better. Yes, some of the stuff is just a cheap attempt to get Roman Reigns over as a babyface, but I kind of like what they're doing here in this build because there is a little bit of reality sewn in. And those are really the best type of angles when you have some realism in there, when you have real life stuff going on. And the real life part of this angle is that Brock Lesnar could very well be leaving. He may or may not be going back to the UFC. He's held that belt now for over 1 year and he's hardly defended it at all. That crazy stat a few weeks ago that Seth Rollins wrestled longer in one match than Brock Lesnar did all year. He has held that championship belt hostage. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for the Universal title to be back on Monday Night Raw. I don't give a shit who holds it. I just want the belt back on Raw, involved in angles, involved in storylines, defended at every single pay-per-view, instead of, being up in Canada somewhere, sitting on Brock Lesnar's coffee table. That belt needs to be back on the show. And now it's time. It's finally here. It's been a full year of us virtually not having a world title on Monday Night Raw. Brock's only been back a few times. How many pay-per-views did he defend the belt on last year? 5 or something. So I think it's long overdue that we got the Universal title back. And I know that the fans are going to absolutely throw up at Roman Reigns winning the belt. But, him winning the belt also means that he's going to lose the belt. He probably will drop it at SummerSlam, whether that be to Braun Strowman or maybe Daniel Bryan, depending if talents move around during the brand, the draft or whatever the fuck they do, the superstar shakeup or whatever it's called. There's a lot of possibilities here. And really, Roman Reigns, even though he's been on top a lot, yes, I know that, he has not been champion now in nearly 2 years. It was June of 2016? When he had the wellness policy violation and they took the belt off of him and suspended him. That was nearly 2 years ago. There is 78 wrestlers featured on WrestleMania. Roman Reigns is not the only one, and this match probably will be the main event. I think it should be the main event because I think AJ and Nakamura is going to be so good. I don't want to take the risk of the fans being burnt out by the time that match comes on. So if we have a long 7.5 hour pay-per-view, I don't know if the fans are going to appreciate AJ and Nakamura the way they should because they're going to be so goddamn tired. So I'm not one of those people that's going to freak out and, it's a travesty and it's so fucked up that, AJ and Nakamura is not the main event. Nakamura won the Royal Rumble and he should be the last match. It's not about AJ and Nakamura. It's about Roman Reigns. You guys just don't want Roman Reigns to be in the main event. It has nothing to do with AJ and Nakamura, but I want the best for AJ and Nakamura's match. And even though I think Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are going to put on a decent match, it's not going to come anywhere close to the quality of in-ring work that we're going to get from Nakamura and AJ. So I would rather have AJ and Nakamura in a position on the card where they can truly steal the show. Judging from what we've seen in the build from Roman and Brock so far, I don't think I'm going to predict any sort of a swerve or any sort of surprise ending here. I think it's going to be a very predictable ending. I think it is going to be Roman Reigns winning the belt, but this isn't going to be the first WrestleMania where there has been predictable endings. WrestleMania 5 was predictable. WrestleMania 4 was predictable. WrestleMania 7 was predictable. WrestleMania 8 was predictable. WrestleMania 12, 13, 14, and 15, all of those main events were extremely predictable predictable. So let's not pretend that predictability really bothers you. I think what really bothers you is that Roman Reigns is probably going to win the belt. But, you know, like I said earlier, to me, it's like I don't give a shit who takes it off Brock. I'm just ready for Brock not to be champion anymore. And I'm a Brock fangirl. You guys know that. I mark out for this fucking guy. But even I am getting a little bit sick and tired of him being champion because the belt is never on TV. I'm fine with Brock being there. I'm fine with Brock being an attraction and having big matches at big pay-per-views. But when he's champion for a full year, it gets old because we don't have a title on Raw. So hopefully that's going to change at WrestleMania. But when you put this whole thing in a vacuum and you judge it for what it is and you put all of the Brock hate or the Roman Reigns hate or any of the shit going along with it and you put that all out of your mind and you judge it for what it is, I don't think this has been a horrible build to this match. It hasn't been great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it's not bad. And I was expecting a lot worse from these guys because when they did this in 2015, it sucked. And it's been a lot better this time around. So I'll have my full prediction and my official prediction this Friday. But just to let the cat out of the bag here, I really don't see myself straying from my prediction of Roman Reigns winning the belt. It seems pretty obvious to me. One of the bright spots on Monday Night Raw was a really good match between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. That was announced, I believe, last week. And during the match, during my Raw watch-along, I had said right from the start, I'm like, this is a match that Seth Rollins needs to win clean. Because I feel like Finn Balor is going to win the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. So if you have Seth Rollins defeat him clean here, it won't really make him lose any steam if he comes up short at WrestleMania. And I would like to see him move on to still contend for the world title, whether that be on Monday Night Raw and being a challenger for Roman Reigns, or if they move him over to SmackDown and they put him with all those great wrestlers with Daniel Bryan, Shinsuke, and AJ, and Owens and Zayn and all that shit. I think that can be a really fun show if they move Seth over there and put him right in the middle of the world title mix on that brand. And on top of that, I'm going to call this out right now. I'm going to make an early prediction here. And that is, not only do I think Finn Balor is going to win the Intercontinental title, I really think he needs to show up as the Demon at WrestleMania. I think that would be a really nice surprise. Every time they've done the Demon, they've advertised the shit out of it. And I think it would be a really nice surprise for the fans if Finn came out there as the Demon, because imagine that entrance at WrestleMania. Imagine 70,000 people doing the whole thing and Finn coming out there with the lighting effects and all the other cool shit WWE can probably do in a Demon entrance. I think it would be a lot of fun and it would be super awesome. And The Miz needs to drop the belt because I think The Miz needs to wind up being on the same brand as Daniel Bryan. I think he should go over to SmackDown and Daniel Bryan should stick his foot up his ass. Miz also just had a baby. Congratulations to Miz and Maurice, by the way. Brand new baby girl came into the world last week, and maybe Miz is going to take a little bit of time off after WrestleMania and after the overseas tour, so he might need to drop the belt anyway. So I'm kind of picking Finn Balor here as the Demon to win the Intercontinental title, which is why Seth Rollins' victory, his clean victory on Monday Night Raw, did not surprise me. And what do you guys think? Is it wishful thinking for the Demon? You know, a lot of people think Finn Balor is going to come out at WrestleMania as normal Finn Balor wearing his little blue tights or whatever, but I don't see how WWE passes up this opportunity to have the Demon on WrestleMania. This is one of their biggest and most over characters that they have. How do you not bring the Demon out for WrestleMania? That's my question. Aside from that, some of the other things we saw on Monday Night Raw, a really funny Braun Strowman segment with The Bar. The Bar is still demanding to know who Braun Strowman's partner is. Braun comes out to the ramp to cut a promo and says that his partner is here and he's going to introduce him to The Bar. But the only way he's going to agree to tell them who his partner is if one of them agrees to face that partner in a one-on-one match. So they agree. Braun Strowman says, okay, I'll be right back. And I called it out during the watch-along. There's no way Braun Strowman's going to bring out the partner right now. He's probably going to come out as himself. And that's exactly what he did. He put on like a white coat and a pair of glasses. He looked like a Dudley boy. He looked like a Big Dick Dudley, a combination of that and Isaac Yankem with the white coat. And called himself Brains Strowman. I guess he's the brother of Braun Strowman or something. And a kind of a funny segment there. He got in the ring, brawled with the Bar a little bit, and we still have no announcement on Braun Strowman's tag team partner. So I've been of the opinion that Braun Strowman doesn't need one, that he could have a lot of fun and just win the tag team titles by himself. It might be something interesting, different, and fun to see. And Braun Strowman, of course, I have a rock hard erection for that guy. I absolutely love him. And he's becoming more and more entertaining every week. He's still that very, very scary monster that can absolutely murder you if he wants to, but he's also got a comedic side to him, and the guy is just impossible to hate. So still tons of speculation on his tag team partner. I think we have several candidates out there. One of the biggest ones is Samoa Joe. I've mentioned Jeff Hardy. Dean Ambrose could possibly make an appearance at WrestleMania of some kind. Maybe he can be the partner of Braun Strowman or even Rey Mysterio, who has been rumored to be re-signing with the company and potentially even competing at WrestleMania. But as far as Braun Strowman's partner goes, I just don't think anybody makes sense. It is starting to look now, because WWE has been repeating it in commentary. Michael Cole has said it several times that Braun Strowman has to have a partner. Apparently, Kurt Angle is quote-unquote forcing Braun Strowman to pick a partner. So if he does, it's probably going to be one of those guys that I mentioned, unless they went in a different direction and put in Kurt Hawkins, who did approach Braun Strowman on Raw with the Pick Me Braun t-shirt, and Braun threw him through the drywall. So maybe he picks a jabroni like Kurt Hawkins, maybe like a James Ellsworth or somebody like that, just to sit on the apron and be there so he can beat these two guys' asses by himself. I don't really know. So you guys throw out all your suggestions there. I've heard just about every single name. A lot of people want to see Samoa Joe, but you know, why? That's always been my biggest question here. Oh, it's going to be Samoa Joe. It's so obvious. It is? Why is it obvious? What do these two guys have nothing to do with each other? Plus, they're both badasses, and I don't know, I think this match is going to be about Braun Strowman. You know, when you look at it, it seems like Braun Strowman is the main component to this match here. If you bring somebody out there that could potentially steal the spotlight from him, I don't know what you accomplish by doing that. And Braun Strowman doesn't need a partner. He can beat these two fuckers by himself. So I want to see Braun Strowman still somehow go to Mania and have the match by himself. You know, maybe it's Brain Strowman. Maybe he's got the coat and the glasses sitting on the outside of the ring. And if he's in the ring, he then tags himself, jumps on the outside of the ring, puts the coat and the glasses on, and gets in the ring and starts fighting as the other partner. You know, kind of like the Three Faces of Foley type of thing. I have no idea what they're going to do here. And another thing about Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman is if they put them together and they win the tag team titles, how are they going to lose the belts? The only way those guys are going to lose the belts is going to be by not getting along, or maybe imploding or fighting with each other, and then, you know, one of them, you know, gets rolled up and pinned or whatever, and the belts change hands. So to me, I really don't have a desire to see Samoa Joe be Braun Strowman's tag team partner. I would rather see Samoa Joe enter the Andre Battle Royal and just win that, you know, because at least that would be something for Samoa Joe, and maybe it would be a surprise because he's not advertised for the show. Nobody's talking about him. So if you bring Samoa Joe back as a surprise somehow, and maybe he's the last guy announced for the Battle Royal when they're going through all of the introductions, and maybe it's Joe. I just don't know. Who knows? So it still remains to be seen what the hell they're going to do with Braun Strowman, but let me know what all of you guys think in the comments below. We also saw Goldust and Matt Hardy face each other one-on-one. They both had some promos, and Goldust quoted the Princess Bride, which is really cool, and then Matt Hardy was hilarious. What does he call the Battle Royal, or what does he call Andre? The Humongous Wonder number 8 or whatever, and he called Goldust the Dust of Gold. Funny-ass shit there, but Matt Hardy did beat Goldust, didn't he, in the one-on-one match, and deleted Goldust, so they'll both be in the Battle Royal, and that should be a lot of fun, hopefully. We had Elias beating Heath Slater in a match. Elias had a little song there, still hoping that Elias is going to have a big segment with The Rock at WrestleMania. There's been a lot of rumors about The Rock, and even in Vegas, the betting odds are saying that he will be there. And I think that he will too. He wasn't at WrestleMania 33, so I think he needs to show up this year for 34. He was at, you know what, he was at 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32, and then he skipped 33. So it would be nice to have The Rock back this year. I would love to see him in a match, but that's probably not going to happen. So if he has to do like a concert with Elias and a sing-off or a sing-along, I think that would be a lot of fun, especially if you add more people to that, maybe even a Chris Jericho. What about Jericho, The Rock, and Elias all in the ring together? That would be some pretty epic shit. So I'm really holding out hope that we do see The Rock at WrestleMania and he gets involved with Elias somehow. Elias most definitely is going to have some sort of a segment at WrestleMania. I don't know if he's also going to be in the Battle Royal. He might be. I think that would be fine. I say have Elias win the Battle Royal and do a segment at WrestleMania. The more Elias, the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. And finally, the only thing else I have written down for Monday Night Raw is what is going on with the women. Bayley defeated Sonya Deville in a one-on-one match. There was a brawl after, in which Bayley was getting beaten down by Absolution. Sasha Banks came out to make the save. And then the two of them started fighting with each other. So Sasha and Bayley are still at each other's throats. There's a lot of talk that they might be the last two in the Battle Royal. That's also very possible because the two of them are not going to have a one-on-one match at WrestleMania, to the best of my knowledge. And what about that WrestleMania Battle Royal trophy? What a piece of shit that thing looks like. Now, I understand they scrapped the Fabulous Moolah idea, so maybe they had to build a trophy kind of quickly here, but it looks ridiculous. It looks like a big giant plastic toy. And am I the only one that notices that the trophy looks like the female reproductive system? The goddamn fallopian tubes and ovaries and shit on that trophy. It's even got little tassels hanging from it, like little pigtails, like something Bayley would wear. So I'm not a fan whatsoever of this Women's Battle Royal trophy. I think it looks stupid. And even the Andre trophy. Later on, we would see that in the Matt Hardy and Goldust match, and that trophy even looked a little bit different. It just looks very plastic and very cheap, very cheaply made, and I don't understand why they're doing that. Give me that trophy from WrestleMania 4 any day of the week, the one that Bret Hart destroyed. I'll take that trophy any day over these two pieces of shit. So I cannot believe how stupid the Women's Battle Royal trophy looks. If I was a participant in this match, I wouldn't even want that thing in my house. And the other angle on Raw involving the women, of course, is what's going on between Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax and Mickie James and all of that. And there was a tag team match on Raw. It was Asuka teaming up with Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke, I don't even remember the last time she had a match on Monday Night Raw. And I think Dana was even Asuka's first victim at NXT TakeOver Respect or whatever it was back in the day, right? And a very strange team to see the two of them teaming up together to face Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. And Asuka and Dana did win, of course. Mickie wound up tapping out. And after the match, Alexa Bliss attacks. And that's when Nia Jax runs out to make the save, gets her hands on Mickie James, beats the absolute shit out of Mickie. And they've been doing a lot of this fat-shaming stuff. We saw the promo, or the interview on Raw with, I think it was Renee Young, and Nia Jax. It was like the backstage sit-down type of deal. And Nia talked about, you know, her weight issues and her emotional issues and her psychological problems and all of that stuff, all the adversity that she's dealt with in her life for being different and being bigger. And I really have no problem with all of that, because I do think this is a nice message for WWE to maybe pass along to the younger audience and, you know, people with self-esteem issues and stuff like that. This can be a good feel-good story if done right, but Mickie and Alexa also had a little segment on Raw where they were making fun of Nia Jax and calling her blubbery and mentioned how much blubber she had and all of that. So I wasn't sure how I felt about the blubber comments, but you know, in storyline, if you stay with it, Mickie and Alexa are likely to get what's coming to them in the end here. So if they have to get a little bit of heat by making fun of Nia Jax's weight, that's fine, whatever. You know, it is a situation, and it is kind of an angle that's somewhat topical, because bullying and fat shaming and all this other kind of shaming, you know, is something that's very big in society right now. And a lot of people are fighting to overcome all the negativity and the meanness in the world and all of that. So I get that all of that kind of all ties in together. And most likely at WrestleMania, Nia Jax is going to completely eat Alexa Bliss alive and win the women's title. And I'm going to be happy for if she does. I like Nia. Sometimes she's not booked in the best way. Sometimes I can't figure out if WWE wants her to be a monster that just kicks everybody's ass, or wants to be this emotional, sympathetic, babyface type character where she's crying and shit like that. I mean, remember when she was brought in like Braun Strowman. She was beating jobbers week after week. Now she's crying. So, I mean, it just, you know, I just don't know how I feel about it. But I think in the end, Nia Jax will get the win, beat Alexa Bliss, and all will be right with the world, at least in Nia Jax's life. And it looks like she's going to get her WrestleMania moment. So that's pretty much your Raw in a nutshell there. Like I said, not the greatest show in the world, but, you know, we are pretty much set up for WrestleMania about as best as we can be set up for it. There's definitely some things I would do differently in a lot of these builds, but overall, I'm still very much looking forward to the Raw side of things at WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to the whole show. Let's move into SmackDown now. Not a whole lot to talk about here, but I thought SmackDown was a good show and it was fun. It opened up with the big Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon promo. Daniel Bryan came out to the ring and goddamn is this motherfucker over. Holy shit. And he's in the ring, starts to cut a promo, and he introduces Shane McMahon, who comes out selling the hernia injury. I'm assuming this whole thing is legit, but there's a chance that maybe it's a work. But Shane is out there and he's dancing around and he's trying his best, even though he seems like he's in a little bit of pain there. And they wind up apologizing to each other. And that was one of my big issues with this whole thing when the tag team match was announced last week. I was like, wait a second. Doesn't Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon really not like each other? They've been at odds for the past few months now. And we all thought it was going to lead to a Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon match at WrestleMania. But instead, they do the angle where Owens and Zayn beat the hell out of Shane McMahon and get fired and then beat the hell out of Daniel Bryan. And now Daniel and Shane are forced to come together to eliminate these two assholes from SmackDown Live. And they wound up hugging it out. Daniel Bryan apologized to Shane McMahon for letting his friendship with Owens and Zayn get in the way. And Daniel Bryan admitted that he made some mistakes. Shane McMahon admitted that he made some mistakes too and that he's stubborn, and they wound up shaking hands and hugging, and it was kind of funny to see them back on the same page, and the crowd seemed to be into it, and just the way everything was worded and the way everything went down, you know, part of me just wonders if we are going to see a heel turn at WrestleMania, if that is at all possible, because Shane McMahon kept making reference to the fact that if Owens and Zayn lose, they will no longer be on SmackDown Live. They didn't say anything about Raw. So it's possible here that Owens and Zayn lose, they get fired, and then they're picked up by Monday Night Raw. Or maybe this whole thing is a big ruse, and Shane McMahon was in on it the whole time. This whole hernia and this diverticulitis and all this shit is completely made up, totally fake, and he winds up turning on Daniel Bryan, joining forces with Owens and Zayn, and beating the hell out of Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan actually loses his return match at WrestleMania. That is possible, especially if you follow the storyline between the two, not getting along for so many months. But I also think there's a very good possibility that Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan just straight up win this match, and Owens and Zayn then move over to Monday Night Raw. But you guys let me know what you think they can do in this match. How can they book it? Are we going to get any sort of a swerve, or is it just going to be a feel-good moment for Daniel Bryan returning to a WWE ring in New Orleans in the same building that he won the title in the main event of WrestleMania just 4 years ago? I think as far as keeping the fans happy, they want to cheer for him. They want to do the yes chants, and I think that's what the WrestleMania crowd deserves. So if it was up to me, I might not even do a swerve here. I might just have Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon win, let the crowd celebrate with Daniel Bryan, take it all in, bask in the glory, and maybe, you know, Daniel Bryan can then move on to be in the world title picture down the road, because we know right after SmackDown, it seems like WWE is going to have no choice but to replace Daniel Bryan as the GM on SmackDown, because he's now an active competitor. He's now back in the ring. He's a wrestler. So he needs to basically resign is what I'm guessing. I'm thinking maybe Tuesday night after WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan comes out and announces the new general manager of SmackDown, whether that be Hulk Hogan, which I don't even think would be a great idea, but he's probably the biggest rumored name right now. I think Jeff Jarrett is also a possibility. And incidentally, it was really cool on WWE's YouTube page to see some of the backstage videos of Jeff Jarrett showing up at SmackDown that was in Nashville. I think it was his first time back at a WWE show since he lost to China at that pay-per-view in 1999. They showed him reuniting with AJ Styles, which I thought was really cool. And I was never even a very big Jeff Jarrett fan, but something about those videos just brought a smile to my face. I guess it's just because it's WrestleMania time, and I'm usually a lot more tolerant of things. And as much as I didn't really like Jeff Jarrett, it kind of touched me to see him back like that and reuniting with some people that he hasn't seen in a long time. And I think the Hall of Fame, despite it not being the strongest class we've ever had, is going to be a lot of fun on Friday night. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But getting back to the GM thing on SmackDown, one would assume right after WrestleMania, we're going to have to get a new general manager of SmackDown. So throw out your candidates. Aside from Hogan and aside from Jeff Jarrett, who else could they bring in to be the GM of SmackDown? Because you know it can't be Daniel Bryan. It just can't. That wouldn't make any sense. And speaking of Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon's WrestleMania match, their opponents did show up on SmackDown as well. They crashed the party. They showed up out of nowhere, stood on the announce table, and cut a promo, which I really liked because it felt a little bit more real. It was nice to see Owens and Zayn out there in street clothes, sort of. Owens, I gotta hand it to the guy. I love his WrestleMania shirts. Last year, he had like the WrestleMania 2 shirt because I think it was a second WrestleMania. This year, he's got the WrestleMania 3 shirt, the bigger, better, badder shirt, KO Mania, with instead of Hogan and Andre doing the face-to-face, it's Owens and Zayn. Next year, he'll have a WrestleMania 4 shirt, I'm assuming. And the promo was very good, very intense and emotional by both guys. I loved the work that Sami Zayn does on the mic. I think the guy's great. I think the two of them are amazing together. And I just love them as a team. I thought they were going to break up for a while there. It looked like they were on the rocks, and they had kind of split, but now they're back together. And I say keep them together as long as possible. And wherever they wind up after WrestleMania, whether they stick around on SmackDown or whether they go over to Monday Night Raw, that's anybody's guess at this point. But I think the build and the promo here by both teams, Daniel and Shane and Owens and Zayn, was very, very good on SmackDown. And I like the way they set the whole thing up. The other major angle on SmackDown, of course, is the build-up between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. They teamed up this week to face Gable and Benjamin in a tag team match. Now, last week, I was not up here to discuss what took place on SmackDown because I skipped last week's episode due to being under the weather. And plus, Raw and SmackDown, there wasn't a whole lot going on those shows anyway, so I came up with that brief, little live stream on Wednesday afternoon in lieu of doing a full episode. But last week, we got Shinsuke Nakamura one-on-one with Shelton Benjamin, which I thought was cool because I know those guys have had some matches together in Japan before. So this week, it was Nakamura and AJ taking on Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable. Nakamura and AJ got the victory, not surprisingly, and they did the deal at the end where AJ refused to tag in Nakamura and hit the phenomenal forearm on Chad Gable and got the pin himself. And then there was some more brawling after the match. And AJ essentially did to Nakamura what Nakamura did to AJ the week before when Nakamura had AJ in Kinshasa position and he came up for the knee and then stopped and patted AJ on the head. So this week, Nakamura has kind of got his back turned in the ring. AJ is on the apron. He jumps up to do the phenomenal forearm. He leaps off the rope, lands on his 2 feet, and stops himself, and then pats Nakamura on the head to kind of end the deal there. So I thought that was pretty good. I mean, it's a babyface match, so there's only so much you can do, and it's kind of boring, and it's really overdone and played out. Whenever you have a babyface match, then the two of them team up, and there's always a miscommunication, and one of them accidentally hits the other, and then there's a brawl or a pull apart or something like that. This was a little bit more Japanish, I guess, and I pretty much don't have an issue with the build. The WWE's hands are a little bit tied in this situation because of how they're both baby faces, and Nakamura really isn't a promo cutter. So it's not like you can do a lot of segments and, contract signings and shit like that because one of them can't really cut promos that well. Just he can say a few words and that's about it. So I think overall, even though it wasn't, much like Roman and Brock, even though it wasn't the greatest build ever, it was a build that I didn't have a whole lot of problem with. And to me, these guys, the story that they're going to tell is going to be in the ring. And I'm really looking forward to that match. And I'm really happy that AJ appears to be healthy enough to go. He's back in the ring. He worked. He threw a couple of phenomenal forearms. So I think if he's working through some pain or whatever he's dealing with injury-wise, he'll be able to gut it out and be able to have, hopefully, a show stealer with Nakamura at WrestleMania. And I'm a little bit stumped with this match, too, as far as who to predict. I really don't know. I don't think we can see every single belt change hands at WrestleMania. We're going to have to see some guys retain. And last year, we saw both world titles change hands. I don't know if they're going to do that 2 years in a row. So if you're going to have Roman beat Brock, maybe AJ retains. Unless AJ is injured and he needs surgery and he needs to take time off, then yeah, he'll probably drop the belt. But I think there's a chance that AJ could retain his title here against Nakamura. But like I said, full predictions coming on Friday. Other than that, there's only a couple of other things I'm going to mention about SmackDown Live. Number one is Rusev defeating Jinder Mahal. Rusev, of course, was inserted into the U.S. title match, so it will not be a triple threat. It's going to be a fatal four-way, and I would love to see Rusev win the title. I'm thinking on Friday when I do my predictions, I may actually predict him to win because I think he's so long overdue for a big moment, for a big victory, for a big celebration. And if he winds up winning that U.S. title at WrestleMania and a big celebration and a song by Aiden English, the crowd is going to go nuts. I think the crowd would eat that shit up. So he's kind of my dark horse Cinderella pick. I know a lot of people probably are not picking Rusev to win the belt. I think most people think it's probably going to be Randy Orton or Bobby Roode. Don't forget he was U.S. champion going in to WrestleMania, 31, where he came out on the tank and he lost to John Cena. So it'll be really nice to see him get that back. And Rusev has been U.S. champion a few times, and it's a belt that he's been synonymous with for a long time in WWE. So for him to get that back and win at WrestleMania, I would absolutely love to see that. And there's a small part of me that thinks it actually might happen. And finally, Charlotte did defeat Natalya in another match on SmackDown, and Carmella came out again and tried to cash in the briefcase. So this is like the 15th time she's tried to do this shit. And of course, Charlotte ran her off, still wound up beating Natalya at the same time. And that's pretty much her final tune-up going into WrestleMania. Asuka came out after the match and confronted Charlotte, and the two of them had a little back and forth. And then, of course, they would face each other later on in the night in the Mixed Match Challenge final, which was The Miz and Asuka taking on Bobby Roode and Charlotte. And The Miz and Asuka, as predicted, did wind up winning that match. They won the entire tournament and won some money for their charity or whatever it was. They cut a promo after, and it was The Miz, I think, pinned Bobby Roode after the skull-crushing finale. We got a little bit of a taste and a preview of Asuka versus Charlotte in that match as well. And I'm looking forward to the match. I can't believe that the women's match is one of the matches I'm looking the most forward to. And here's another crazy prediction that I'm going to have. I am not completely convinced either that Asuka is going to win. I think there's a chance that Charlotte ends the streak. I really do. And that's the thing. When I go into my predictions on Friday, I don't want to predict what everybody else is predicting. And I think that about 95% of the audience is picking Asuka to win this match. I feel like I've got to go in another direction here and go a little bit against the grain, and I might actually pick Charlotte to beat her. I don't know what I'm going to say on Friday, but right now I'm kind of thinking and I'm kind of hoping. Well, I take that back. I'm not hoping, because honestly, I do not care who wins this match. And I want to make that perfectly clear. That way, if anybody disagrees with my idea of Charlotte ending the streak, oh, no way, that would be a stupid idea. Listen, just chill out. Relax for a minute, okay? I don't care who wins. I think it's going to be a great match. I think it's going to be a fun match. And regardless of which lady gets her hand raised and walks out of there with the belt, I'm going to be perfectly fine with. The only outcome I'm not going to be perfectly fine with is if Carmella comes out there and ends either the streak or just takes the belt away from the winner of this match. And the more they've been building this shit with her, coming out there every week and teasing a cash in only not to cash it in, that feels like it's building up for her to cash in at WrestleMania. And I hope to hell that that does not happen. If it does, then she needs to get involved in the Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss match or something. Maybe jump over to Monday Night Raw. Maybe cash in over there on that side. That would be so much better. If she comes down there and ruins this dream match, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm not a huge Carmella fan, and I think Charlotte and Asuka, they deserve this stage. This is a big-time money match for the women, the first one they've had in a long time, in many years, possibly ever in the WWE, a match like this that people actually want to see in the women's division. This is a dream match, and you're going to have Carmella come out there and ruin it. I am going to shit a brick if that happens, and I will be very disappointed. But aside from Carmella coming out, any other outcome that they want to do, whoever they want to have win this match, you're not going to get a complaint out of me. I really don't care at the end of the day. But let me know what you guys think. What are the odds that Carmella comes out there and interferes in this thing or cashes in the briefcase? I'll give her this. It's going to be a ton of heat. I mean, it's going to get Carmella hated by about every single wrestling fan in existence if she comes out there, especially if Asuka wins. I mean, 2-3 years undefeated, and then she beats Charlotte in the match of her life, and then Carmella ends the streak. And even though it would be shocking and the crowd would probably go nuts and their jaws would drop, it's not something that I want to see. So let me know your opinions on that. Who do you think is going to win? And what the hell do you think Carmella is going to do at WrestleMania? So that pretty much sets up our WrestleMania. Here is what I have written down. Let's take a look at this card here. We've got the Women's Battle Royal. We have the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. We have the Cruiserweight Final, which there's some controversy attached to this too, because I do believe it was made official that Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali is on the kickoff show, which is what I was afraid of, which is what I was worried was going to happen. But you know what? What can you do? What's the point of screaming and yelling about this? It's not really that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. I just don't want these two guys to have to go out there and face each other in front of an arena that's like a quarter full. At least make this match near the end of the kickoff. That way there's as many people in the audience as possible. And if this match is going to be on the kickoff, at least put this shit on the DVD so these guys get paid their royalties, because they didn't put Neville and Austin Aries on the DVD last year, and it pissed both of them off, and neither one of them are in the company anymore. And after the Cruiserweight division had flopped and failed and got so stale there with all the problems that they had with Neville leaving and then the Enzo situation and one bad thing after another, everybody in that tournament I thought worked really hard. I thought the tournament was fun. Triple H took over. They got a new GM on 205 Live and started changing the format and and the direction of the show a little bit. And since all of those changes have taken place, I've really enjoyed 205 Live. I've enjoyed the Cruiserweight division. And I think all of the talent there and everybody involved worked really hard to help build this division back up. And I think that match deserves to be on the main card, but maybe it will surprise us. I'm still picking Cedric. I've picked him from day one. So if they put this match near the end of the kickoff, there's enough people in the crowd, people watch it. It's a good match. It gets a good crowd reaction. It gets a good reaction on social media. Then I think, okay, fine, really no harm done. I'm not going to lose my shit over this, but I am a little bit disappointed that this match is not taking place on the main card. I do have to admit. We also have the SmackDown Tag Team titles, the Triple Threat, Bludgeon Brothers, New Day, and the Usos. We've got the Raw Tag Team titles, the Bar facing Braun Strowman, and supposedly a tag team partner. We've got the Intercontinental Triple Threat, Finn, Seth, and Miz. We've got the U.S. Fatal 4-Way, Jinder, Rusev, Bobby Roode, and Randy Orton. Alexa versus Nia Jax for the Raw title. Charlotte versus Asuka for the SmackDown title. Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Whatever winds up happening with John Cena and The Undertaker, whether it's a match, a confrontation, or whatever, we know that's going to be a part of WrestleMania. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE title, and Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. So that is 14 matches there. You're also going to have to factor in whatever Elias does. He's probably going to do a segment or a concert. Hopefully we'll see The Rock come out there. We're going to have the Hall of Fame segment as well. So there's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be a long show. So I believe the kickoff or the show start time is 7 Eastern, and it's going to go till about midnight. So that's a 5-hour show. And then you have to add the 2-hour pre-show, the 2-hour kickoff that starts as well. So you're looking at a minimum of 7 hours this coming Sunday. We are getting closer and closer to WrestleMania eventually becoming a 2-day event, because these shows are getting very, very long. But you know what? I don't care. It's a fun day. I'm going to have a lot of fun watching this shit and talking to you guys about it, and I'm excited. I can't wait. Why don't we also run through the Hall of Fame before we get out of here as well? Goldberg, Jeff Jarrett, Mark Henry, Hillbilly Jim, the Dudley Boys, Ivory, Kid Rock, and the Warrior Award recipient. And all of the inductees or inductors have been announced as well. So Paul Heyman is going to be inducting Goldberg. The Road Dogg will be inducting Jeff Jarrett. Recently announced the Big Show will be inducting Mark Henry. Big Show just signed a new WWE contract from what I read as well. Jimmy Hart will be inducting Hillbilly Jim. A little bit of a letdown there. It's too bad Hogan is not in good graces with the company right now, because I would have loved to see Hulk Hogan induct Hillbilly Jim. It would have made more sense for Hogan to induct Hillbilly than it was for Hogan to induct Savage, because Hogan and Savage were not friends in the end there. Edge and Christian are going to be inducting the Dudley Boys, which is a lot of fun, and I have a feeling we might even see Matt and Jeff come out on the stage during that induction as well. We have Molly Holly inducting Ivory. I have no idea, nor do I care, who's going to induct Kid Rock. And of course, the Warrior Award is going to be presented, I'm guessing, by Dana Warrior. So that is pretty much it. It's looking like a fun weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now, because I still have some work to do on the Q&A, and I will be up here in just a couple of days to give you my full WrestleMania 34 card predictions, and I will throw in their predictions for NXT TakeOver on Saturday as well. So happy WrestleMania week to all you guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at GoodMicWork. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not yet already. Give my Facebook page a like and a follow, because I am going to be all over the place this week on social media talking about WrestleMania 34, and I am excited for the show. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow and every single other day leading up to WrestleMania. So until next time, peace.
This has been a Good Mike Work Commentaries production. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/GoodMicWork. Follow Greg Morgan on Twitter at GoodMicWork and visit GoodMicWorkCommentaries.com for all the latest podcast and video content.